talk about, I mean, facts on the ground. Terris, would you like to discuss if you will, or juxtapose the president's achievements for all the American people, but in particular for African Americans versus, say, someone who's almost a near demigod, or at least he used to be a demigod before he actually went into office, and that's President Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, just compare the two in terms of achievements for the African American community.
Absolutely. It is not even close. Number one, as you mentioned in the bio, that I was appointed by the Trump administration to the Department of Ed. For starters, for example, taking the office of the HBCUs out of the Department of Ed and moving it into the White House, which guaranteed their funding for, years later, years to come. And so that had never been done.
After, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is after President Obama had actually cut funding to HBCUs.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And he did so. Talk a little bit about this, Terris, before you get back to what President Trump did. What Obama wanted to do was essentially make HBCUs extinct by, in his mind, liberating Black students from HBCUs and integrating them into regular institutions of higher education. It's just a total insult to the beautiful and absolutely necessary history of HBCUs.
That's right. You're absolutely right. I actually attended an HBCU. I currently sit on a foundation board for Norfolk State University, to be exact. And so when you try to talk to these individuals about that, who don't really know all the details and the backdrop of it all, then it just sparks an argument. But, a lot of times you don't get off into it because you know which way that conversation is going to go. But you're absolutely right. That funding was cut. As a matter of fact, it's interesting you mentioned about cuts because I worked in the public school system as well, in the K-12 system, and it was under Obama that I got cut, and many other African-American Black males, to be exact, in our local school district back in 2012. Cuts were made, and as a result, our actual district had to claim a budget crisis. So many of us got laid off, but you didn't see no march. You didn't see the NAACP come out doing any of that stuff.
You didn't see Black students turn their backs at one of the administration speakers of the Obama administration, which they did to President Trump in his first term. It's painful. I mean, at some point, and I think, as you and I talked about younger generations, I think the younger generations are paying closer attention. There's of the slogans and the symbolism of if you're Black, you have to be Democrat. A lot more of them are independent, and a lot more of them are even pulling the lever for the Republican Party. So you're absolutely right. I forgot that I knew that the president had increased funding in his first term. I had forgotten, though, that he actually moved HBCUs out of the Department of Education to the White House so it could be protected. That was an amazing achievement, and it's amazing that African Americans, by and large, did not give the man his credit for that. And I think that's why it's so important that he attends the meeting that you're talking about, that you guys have invited him to, so that he can get his props, if you will, as they say in the hood. Get his props. Yeah, he deserves.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're right. I'm glad you mentioned the hood too, because another one was the Opportunity Zone. So a lot of people said, "Well, that was Obama's." Well, nah. Not so fast. I mean, because President Trump was the actual one that put feet to it. So that was more so the public and private investment back into inner city communities, particularly predominantly Black and brown communities, where there was reinvesting in those communities. It brought jobs and that kind of thing. He was addressing the issue on housing and so on. And so anything, he did a lot of great things, man. School choice.
That was the Platinum Plan, I think, was a part of.
Yeah, the Platinum Plan. That's right. Yeah. The whole school choice thing, all of this stuff was very instrumental. The lowering of taxes, I mean, the decrease in tax rates for small businesses and whatnot was enormous. People's retirement accounts, they were increasing and stuff. So, I mean, it was really a wonderful time, man. And then the Wuhan hit us, right?
Yeah.
The Wuhan came to town. And so but he still did well. And when the following administration came into play, when we saw inflation, it had never returned to levels that President Trump had actually had it at. So, and that was during the whole entire time of the Biden administration. They had never returned back to that low. And so I think we're on track to doing some great things in this next term. But again, he needs to get his props on that.